Howdy hackers and welcome to another episode of FairLight TV. So Fjälldata 2025, what an event. It had multiple things that I captured and we are trying to present all of them to you. This is probably the most fun part. I laughed the most at this one because this is Riddler and his party report from Assembly 1997. Somewhat late, but there are good reasons to watch this, so do watch it until the end, because there is sort of a cliffhanger. I'm presenting you a cliffhanger because there is a very enjoyable end to his talk. Do watch it. So over to Erik Riddler and his talk on assembly.
All right, everybody. I hope you have a beer and well, this won't be nearly as technical as what we just witnessed, but very impressive. Trident, and but we continue on the assembly team, but now with the assembly 97 party report. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, as Trident mentioned, he said that, well, I've been waiting many years for that, and he works on the 300 demo parts a year schedule. I work on more on the 30 years schedule. So, well, anyway, as everybody might remember, assembly is a famous line of Finnish demo parties, or I don't know, maybe it's more commercial nowadays, but in the old days, in the 90s, it was they had demo competitions and stuff like that. I don't know how it developed during the years. They do still arrange the parties though. And I'm a Riddler, by the way, if you didn't get that. But before we start on the assembly 97 report, let's take a brief look back on the history of the group Active and also the history of Norrbotten meetings in the 90s up until the events of the assembly party in 97. The group Active was founded in 1989 by Surfer. He was then a member of Crack Force Omega, CFO, which was quite a famous Swedish cracking group. When the last original member, Stripe, left the scene, he thought it was stupid to still go under the famous CFO name. So he wanted to start a new group. And the early members were Ingen, Dexter, Siphoid, and Banshee, maybe some more guys. The story behind the name was that Surfer visited the petrol station and he saw some cool looking sunglasses with the label Active Polarized. So he thought Active sounded cool, so he chose the name. That's the story anyway. So Active was a cracking group. There were some demos in this time, but one part demos, which was common for cracking groups at the time, you know. But in 1991, my good friend Peter Trasher, we're childhood friends from school in Boden. He joined in. We were both at the time in a group called Maniacs, a Swedish group. He joined in, brought a lot of new activity with him, cracking games all the time. I remember the stories you had, Peter, when cracking games all night and then going up to school without any sleep and doing maths tests. And well, it was pretty hardcore, you know. But well, he made it into a great career anyway. So fuck school, right? Oh well, very much new cracking activity with Peter coming in, and the year after in 92 I joined in under a secret handle, a thing which was quite common in our group. There were more of these kind of fake members and secret handles in our group. But in 93 I joined in officially in the beginning of 93, and then we also get later that year our first international member, which was Artlace, a cool Hungarian coder. made quite a few cool intros for us and some demo parts and stuff like that. So this year we also have our first releases, NTSC PAL first releases. You know, back in those days it was very important for cracking groups to have this, and this was a big moment. So it goes on for a few years, but in 95, 96, a lot of things happen. We have a German section with some members like Shockray and Scare, and we also briefly have a Swiss section. But in 96, Trident, which we already knew for many years, 5 years or so since the meeting times, joins in, and of course, obviously, he brought in a lot of new activity. You know what he's capable of, and also back in those days. So starts coding like crazy, lots of cool intros and demo parts, new ideas coming in. And so in 1997, he releases the first active track first the Jazz Gossen preview in the spring of 97, right? And and then later the OTEC People demo, which we are going to talk about more later. In 97, we also get the Dutch section with Bordeaux joining in. So that was some background on the group. But we also parallel to this, there was also a lot of activity going around with meetings in Norrbotten. You know, we are from the northmost county in Sweden, so not a lot of sceners, but there were a few actually, and we regularly met in places like Boden and Kalix. At like you see here to the left. It's an early picture from 1991. I think me and Trasher were both in Maniacs at that time, so I'm to the left there, and Peter in the back, in the white shirt there. I think he was cracking Darkman Ocean game at that meeting, if I remember it correctly. In the middle there is Wolverine. He later joined in active, but he was then in a group called Jam, I think. And to the right, a guy called Dr. Widlow, a guy from Boden. He was briefly in a German group called Overkill. So early days, I think we are 16 years at the time. So to the right, some meeting pictures from Luleå, Tunastigen. I think there was some kind of apartment you could borrow close to. Okay, yeah. 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 Anyway, a good meeting apartment, and you see Trident set up here with a PC and 128D, and you can see Trident really liked this Falcon Bayersk, and I was happy to notice yesterday that this beer still exists. So so try one later, why not? But but that's in 97. So all right. But back to the assembly party and the trip there. The decision to go there came really late for me and my friend Dahl, a guy from Boden who was on the Amiga. We decided ourselves the night before we had to go that we must go. And but in those days, I mean, it was a long trip for us. It's 1,000 kilometers to go to Stockholm, and then and then you have to take the ferry over to Helsinki or whatever. But in those days, you could take cheap standby flights and fly for 200 crowns. But somehow we must have planned it, because I had gotten the party releases from Trident to bring with me. And I mean, those days you had to take the physical disc with you, and no D64s to transfer. Oh well. So we go down with a standby flight, and you remember, you Swedish guys must remember the party cruises of the 90s going over to Helsinki, and a lot of boozing, Koff and Mintu and stuff like that. And of course we travel in hardcore style, sleeping in the floor of the corridors there. But a cheap trip. Oh well, these days you didn't take that many pictures. Every picture costs, to develop, and the photos. But here are a few party guys. To the left is Year of Panic. decoder of the Panic demo released there, and middle H mixer of Atlantis. To the right, I'm not sure, but this is, I think this is Dwangi, who was later in FairLight. I don't know if anyone can confirm this. Yeah. At that time, he was in some other group, I don't remember, but okay, it was Dwangi then, cool. Yeah, the actual party place, big hall, close to the Hartwall Arena, the ice hockey arena in Helsinki. What I remember most was a place outside the party, which they called Boo Assembly. It was more like a concrete parking lot where people were sitting and drinking, because this was in August, and it was quite nice weather, so very hardcore. So the hard and well, the majority of the pictures I took was from the big screen showing Trident's demo, and of course these pictures nowadays look pretty crappy. but I mean, back in those days, it was just a major thing to show something on the big screen. This was a major thing. So to the right, there's a part in the demo with a big Swedish flag, and you can almost see the Finnish guys there going a bit agitated. and I don't, bad joke, but anyway. So yeah, that was the demo competition. OTEC people, we will try to watch it later. So when I chose the name for this presentation, I didn't remember it, but I checked out on the CSDB, and there was actually already Assembly 97 party report released by Damage after the party, and I had written text for it at the party, and I had totally forgotten about it. But this was pretty good for my dementia about the party, and I mean, you remember party reports and party scrollers from this time. It was the common themes, like you write about stinking socks and drinking beer and stuff like that, and sleeping on the floor. But and also the typical comments like complaints about all the Quake and PC lamers at the party, and yeah, the commercial style of this party, because it was a commercial party, and yeah. Focused a lot of gaming and stuff like that. What is interesting when I read it again, is that in the writing, some people pop out ideas about Commodore 64 only parties, and this is actually just a few months before they started up the zoo parties in Finland, and so which are still going on, and of course events like this comes from the inspiration of this, I guess so. That you see the need that we need to meet for ourselves. So that was quite interesting to see. Oh well. The results of the competition. Here is only the 64 stuff. There was also Amiga competition, I remember clearly, and probably PC competition as well. First place in the demo competition Speedway by Panic, and second place OTEC people by Active, our one-man army at the time, Trident. And 3D Highlight by Lepsy, third place, Polish group, as you remember. The music compo, yeah, first place, the cool Bash cover Fugue, how do you say it in English? Fugue in G minor by Trident. Second place, Old School by Cube, and Space Debris by the Alien. Graphics compo, well, who else? Electric won it, of course, like he did. So that were the compos, and over to the epilogue. The time after the party, for me personally, was kind of a transition time, and maybe also for the group Active. Shortly after the party, I moved down to Umeå to continue my studies down there, and so I kind of lost contact with the ease of meeting up with Trasher and Trident and arranging meetings and stuff like that. So a kind of time of inactivity for myself started. So it was easier when we all lived in the same place, of course. Thing was, a few months after I moved down to Umeå, a letter appeared in the mailbox, and it was a few two diplomas from the assembly organizers for the second place in the demo competition and the first place in the music competition. And well, there was no good time to hand over those diplomas, and they ended up in a box for almost 30 years. So, well, but Trident, I have them here now in a frame. So please come up and get them.
Ta en bild på det.
And the first place in the music competition. Yeah. Well, that was it. Thank you.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
FairLight.